Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the Uniben Alumni Series. As you are aware, we bring you exclusive interviews of Uniben alumni that have graced the four walls of one of the finest tertiary institutions in Nigeria. And on today's episode, we have a legal luminary, a man who is promoting the image of not just the University of Benin, but Edo State and Nigeria at large on the global stage. He is the founder and principal partner of Kingsley Jesuorobo, an associate law firm in Canada. He is Kingsley Jesuorobo. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you, Kevin Omakaro, for having me.
Thank you, sir. We'll start off on a congratulatory note. You were recently appointed as a member of the Board of Governors at the Union of Ontario in Canada. Congratulations, sir.
The Law Commission of Ontario, which is the foremost institution that deals with law reform issues and is comprised of highly distinguished folks from various legal sectors of the Ontario legal system, the judiciary, the academia, of course, the bar, and a whole host of other individuals, deemed it fit to find me worthy of appointment to the Board of Governors. And so I'm really excited. I want to seize this opportunity to thank all my fans and well-wishers and friends and relatives, especially the Nigerian Bar Association Benin branch that went, all out to write me a very humbling and highly cherished congratulatory message.
Yeah, that is great to hear. Congratulations once again, sir. Sir, in most quarters, you are referred to as an enigma when it comes to immigration, refugee law. I know that you are also very, very good with other aspects of law, but this area, it seems you have a special attachment to this area of law. I don't know if that is correct, and why so?
Thank you. Yes, it's interesting. Thank you, for that description. Ironically, I attended, of course, I was called to bar. This is first and foremost a medium that is showcasing people who have gone through, as you said, the forwards of the great University of Benin. So I have to always make sure we don't just use the acronym Uniben. We have to make it clear we are talking about no other than the University of Benin.
Yes.
Benin City. And of course, it's my alma mater. I'm happy, that I had the privilege, to have gone through that institution. It molded me, it baked me, and what can I say? I'm always ever going to be identified and viewed from the Uniben prison. Now, why did I go there? I was going there to let listeners know that after Uniben, of course, I came to Canada. I went to the University of Toronto, and then I had to do the bar admission course, and then I was called to bar. Throughout these sojourn, through these various institutions, immigration and refugee law or citizenship law was not on my academic agenda at all. Now, How did I get into immigration and refugee law? While I was at Uniben, it turned out that, the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada would have needs for interpreters, those who would, show fluency in more than one language. Of course, English and French are the official languages of Canada. And when you are attending proceedings, you have to, conduct those proceedings, or it has to be conducted either in English or French. And so many people would come in and they would have, some challenges with either or both of those languages. And as a result, they would opt for, an interpreter to assist with the process. So that's how, of course, I'm very fluent in Benin, being Oyedo, and I'm fluent in Pidgin English. So that gave me, of course, the avenue to penetrate into that system. So I was regularly called, I was making as a freelance interpreter, of course, while studying at the same time. So through that course, I became heavily involved within the immigration bar system. Lawyers knew me, and of course, during breaks, we will have interactions with the practitioners of the immigration bar. And of course, many of them saw that this guy was just not an interpreter, but someone with much deeper perspective, knowledge about law and stuff. So from there, I started getting offers from folks who wanted, lawyers now, who wanted me to help with their research. As if you know, immigration and refugee law is usually country specific. And here I was with an array of assets, as far as my knowledge of the socio-political, economic, and cultural backgrounds of many of those who were seeking protection. And so they would need me, and then I would go in, and then I started doing freelance legal research and what have you. Lo and behold, by the time I was called to bar, my original plan was to be a civil litigation lawyer, because my principal then always said to me, I was a born advocate, my goal was, practice civil litigation and all that. But because I had become extremely entrenched in that system, I had a lot of people who were looking for services in that area and who was going to be a better fit for them than someone who had gone through the wars of the training institutions in Canada, and someone who already had a legal background, fully fledged, within, the same Canadian system. So that was why I was careened, actually. I was forced, out of my original intended, path into immigration and refugee law. And of course, once I got in there, I could never leave again.
There was no turning back, as we can see.
So that is, in a nutshell, I don't know whether it's a nutshell, really. That is the long and short of my foray into that area of practice.
That's great. So yes, sir. You have been a lawyer in Canada for about 30 years. You have been a lawyer generally for more than 30 years, for about 35 years or so.
Correct. I was called to Nigerian bar in 1990.
Yes, 1990. So we're talking about 34 years now. And you're a founding partner of JD Solicitors. When we look at the statistics in your profile, in a single year, it is stated that you won 154 out of 185 cases. That's about 83%. You argued before the Canadian Immigration Board. You have been a guest lecturer at different events, both in Canada, in the United Kingdom, and even back home in Nigeria. You are the vice president of the African Bar Association, North America, if that is correct. You are also the president of the Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers. You co-founded Canada's premium Black television network, that's FEVA TV. This profile, you are indeed a great man and an inspiration to a lot of people. Sir, I want to ask, what role did Uniben, your alma mater, what role did Uniben play in preparing you for all these responsibilities that you have taken upon yourself and you are doing exploits?
Thank you very much for that. Let me correct, some of the factual background. Yes, I was president of Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers from 2017 to 2019. Of course, Once a president, always a president.
Always a president.
So, but I'm not currently the president. What I am, with respect to the Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers, currently is the chair of the board of directors. Every other thing you said is true. Yeah, FEVA TV, first entertainment voice of Africa, television, was the premier
black television network,
network in Canada, under the sponsorship, gracious sponsorship of the late Captain Hosa Okumbo. We
God rest his soul, a prominent Benin man here,
and who was recognized by the great institution of the University of Benin with a honorary doctorate degree. Remember, so that's why I say and acknowledge that great alumnus, of blessed memory. Now, we did that. In terms of other forays I have made, I can tell you that without the foundation that Uniben laid for me, I would have been nothing. Okay, first and foremost, you have to understand that Uniben is not an institution we are proud of for nothing. We have the best brains struggle to get in there. I remember how competitive it was. Many people dreaded to choose Uniben as, their first choice. When writing JAM, it was not different in my set. So at the beginning, you have, a very highly competitive, entrance process. And then after that, now you are baked by the best of the best. I remember, our professors, Professor Isse Sage, who taught me the law of contract. Many of them, many, too numerous to name. And in the end, what happened was someone who had been given all of the tools he needed, to blend wherever. So when it comes to contextual connectedness, that is wherever you are, to plug into that context and take things from there seamlessly, I can tell you that the foundation that Uniben lays, for its graduates. When I was there, I could not actually find anywhere that I could have been. Even after living there, having sojourned through, But it's true. I had the privilege of going to Oxford University to give a lecture on their invitation and on an honorarium. Okay. Now, without the foundation that Uniben gave me, I don't think I would have been anywhere. I went to one of the best, schools in Canada, University of Toronto. Again, drawing from the foundation that Uniben had laid. So all of these things that you hear, if I mention any accomplishment at all, Uniben has rubbed off on me like so massively and so like undeniably that I will always, in fact, on my wall, unfortunately, I'm talking to you from home, I have, an area of certificates, that I've aligned, even here in Toronto. If I were in my office, I would have said, okay, look at it. It's the oldest certificate that I have on my wall. I point to it every time, anybody came, to my office. I said, okay, that's where it all began from.
We are so proud of that. Going back, before you gain admission into the University of Benin, what motivated you to study law? What was that driving force? I said you want to be a lawyer. Was there someone that was the inspiration and you said you wanted to be like that person?
Very great question. If I say that from when I started to understand the meaning of life, I always wanted to study law. Many people might not believe. Whatever it was, whether it was, because at that time I wouldn't even say I had, in-depth knowledge of life or the ramifications of professional callings and things like that. I wouldn't say. So from my elementary school days, whether I was fascinated by the regalia, the robe, the wig, and what have you, the beeps, I don't know. But it was just something I really wanted. And as time came, I went to where the secondary school I went to was not that which produced a lot of undergraduates at that time, because unfortunately, because of the challenges people had, many of the graduates from the secondary school, I went to Ronigbe Grammar School, either because of the paucity of teachers to guide you properly, to train you properly. So it was not a whole lot of us, that ultimately, transited, up to university. I remember while at Uniben, folks, this one would say, I went to this college, I went to that college. I don't want to mention any names because as far as the best, my secondary school remains the best. It was just that infrastructurally, in terms of the resources, we didn't have all of those things that could have prepared way many intelligent people to further their education. But that said, what it was I knew from the beginning, to your question, that what was it. And then, of course, as I grew now, going on into the question of my know-how, my knowledge, of life, it became extremely attractive to me, because look at the prestige, that is attached to that profession. Look at the dignity, that those who have, been at the forefront of pushing, the legal sector, into prominence. Look at the dignity and the kind of high regard people have, the dignity they project, the high regard people have for them, and things like that. So naturally, you want to belong to, where you are honored. So that added impetus to my desire. And then when I now realize, if you want to be, I am naturally, you're an advocate, for the downtrodden, for those. I am a social justice advocate. I'm a human rights advocate. When I was in Uniben, I was the president of the Amnesty International Uniben chapter. So I've always had that goal of standing for the oppressed, the voiceless, and I'm just a crusader along that line. And there's no better tool, for social crusade than the legal tool that lawyers have. You challenge the system, I'm reputed, within the immigration cycle, because I've used my skill to prevent people who were not supposed to be deported from being deported. I've had victories where I've used the court to stop, mass deportations of people to Nigeria. I've done a whole lot of ground-breaking cases, thanks to the tool, that I have. So as a result of me seeing people use law, to shape society, to engineer society, in the right direction, I knew, I had made the right choice. So in a nutshell, I would say that law, first, I was attracted to because, I just loved the ambience of, the picture I was seeing as a kid. And then later on, I realized, oh my goodness, I would rather be nowhere else.
Okay. Does that mean that if you were not admitted into the law faculty, what area do you think you would have looked at?
Oh, there we go now. Let me take you through the trajectory, okay? My educational trajectory. Like I told you, I went to Ronigbe Grammar School. When I graduated, I didn't have all of the credits. By the way, this is something I think everyone who is listening ought to, have regard to. I didn't have all of the credits. I had spent 6 years okay, instead of 5 in secondary school at Uronigbe Grammar School. Meanwhile, when I was in elementary school before my advancement to secondary, I was usually top of my class. Many of my, former classmates would attest, I was extremely regarded as brilliant. But then I went into secondary school. I wasn't paying a lot of attention. My grades were not the best. I didn't like some of the courses, not because I was not good at them. And then my father felt, okay, you know what? You are going to have to learn a lesson. I want better results. I ended up repeating a class. Now, after I got to my 3rd year, now that's class 3. I repeated class. I got to class 3. There were courses like literature that were becoming very burdensome to me in my head. I'm like, I don't know. Today we have to read poetry. Tomorrow is prose. The next time is drama and all of that. So even though I had the capacity to deal with all of these things, I was just not interested. So I said, no, what's my business? Why am I doing literature? So I stopped dealing with literature or paying attention to literature.
Whoa.
For a guy whose goal was to study law, okay? So I stopped. And so it was. We graduated. By the time I finished, I think I had 4 credits and a pass. Okay, and then there was a whole lot of commotion in our final year. One of the students had a tussle with the principal, and there was a serious problem. The whole school, the whole class was suspended. I think we were only required to come and write the exam. I'm telling you what happened in class 5 when you are supposed to be prepared very well, for your most decisive exam, which is the WAEC at that time. It was a miracle that someone like me had 4 credits and a pass, and lo and behold, it was one of the best results. Okay, unfortunately. And then then we didn't have guardians, we didn't have counselors. Those things, became like new songs to me after the fact. Then reality dawned. My dad said, okay, so this is what you have. I'm not going to let you to be at home. You must go to a college. That is, you must go to a higher institution. I'm not going to let you be at home. I said, oh, don't worry, Pa. I can deal with it. I can do this thing. I assure you I will do it and I will ace it. So my father said, okay, even with all your promises, I don't have a problem. I'm going to take you to one of these other schools, go and re-enroll. I said, whatever, okay, I'll re-enroll and you will see I will have everything. He said, even if you promise heaven and earth, you are heading to college. I said, okay, no problem. Compromise, I will go. Let me re-enroll. Then I re-enrolled. I went to Ozolo Grammar School. I re-enrolled. And I studied on my own. I picked up all the literature books, whether it had to do with Shakespeare, whatever it was. I looked at the curriculum because at that time I knew, because law was my first choice. So my father took me to College of Education. I think it was Reverend Father Whiteful then, who was the provost. So I got admitted to the College of Education. While in class, every of my classmates who gave me their ears, I made it clear I was a passerby. I was not. I said, this is what happened. This is an accident of history. Whatever it is that you guys think, I am not part of this. Lo and behold, of course, I did my work again. I had like the best result. Okay. At some point, my results were so good that it took WAEC, I think about few weeks after the general results were released, before mine was released. Okay. So I had all the courses. I had more than enough credits. Then I faced JAMB, of course. I did JAMB. I was the 7th on the list of the first batch students to get into law.
Admitted.
So, yes, into Uniben law, first batch. Point I'm making, of course, regardless of the disappointments that anybody or this straying into, other directions and what have you, if you are focused and you know what you want, you get it. So here you have someone, I have 1 full year, and even when I give my profile, I always identify the fact, I acknowledge the fact that I went to College of Education, even though I didn't end up with a degree. I have
with a degree from there.
English and religious knowledge. So that is the trajectory I took before I ended up at Uniben.
Oh, okay. Sir, still on Uniben, outside the classroom, outside the faculty of law, what is that important attribute you took from the university that is still very handy today, outside the academic knowledge and all that?
Oh, first, look at the atmosphere. By the way, as obviously, those who study law know, if you start from your first year, you mingle with folks from other departments and faculties. You're right. So the great friendship that I made, they subsist till today. Even many of my teachers, some of them I still relate with them. These were bonds that were powerful at that time and still remain powerful today. Now, generally speaking, there was a whole lot, that I took. Student activism. Okay. Went to Uniben and you did not learn activism for social justice courses and things like that. That means the university, passed through you didn't pass through the university, or whichever way you want to look at it. Bottom line, the outside of the faculty of law, the kind of ambience you find in terms of social activities, in terms of political activities, talking about school closures and strikes and what have you, it was a fixture, throughout my 4 years. We almost missed the Nigerian law school. I think we only got in there in December or thereabouts when Babangida, the notorious dictator then, didn't like the fact that Uniben was always at the forefront of agitation, against some of the questionable policies and programs, of the government. So he decided by fiat to suspend everybody, and we were all home, and praying, for God's intervention. That's how we ended up almost not attending or missing our law school at that time. So we always had things outside, of the law faculty that, created that, cohesive, bond between those who were in law and in others, and we had, that, commonality of interest, and so all of those things still remain with me to this.
That's great to hear. And sir, I'm quite aware of your philanthropic gestures, both material and intellectual resources that you give back always, both to the states. I know you are very proud of where you're from, like those states. As you said earlier, you're a proud Benin man. And I just want to tell you that the University of Benin is still very open to receive any of these at any time. Sir, lastly, you labeled yourself as a lawyer by day, a poet by night, and several other things in between. Let's talk about those several other things in between. What do you do if you are not writing, if you are not constructing some of the great poems you've written, if you are not defending clients or individuals? What do you do outside these things?
Thank you. First, I'm a software entrepreneur. And
Okay.
by that, I invest a lot in software development, and I've got two software right now. They are available for people to subscribe to. One of them, which is obviously very dear to me, is called Lil Requester, Lil, then Requester, Requester. It is
Okay.
a technological software solution that helps developmentally challenged people with social communication skills. Okay. And
Okay.
then that one is available currently, and folks who have developmentally challenged children, autistic children, and people with communication challenges, can
Yeah.
go and download for free. And if they want higher version, of course,
They
they
can
can also
subscribe to
subscribe, and get access. We are still working on. It's available on the App Store, but we are working on creating the Android version.
Android. Okay.
Yes. And then Danalix. I'm the founder and CEO of Danalix. Danalix, Danalix. Okay, Danalix is a legal and business management software, and it is leading with an array of features. It helps lawyers with law practice management and anything and everything that has to do with fulfilling regulatory requirements. So when it comes to regulatory compliance, it is a software that is, second to none. Now, I also am very active in the bar management, as you know.
Yeah.
You listed some of the roles I've played. I'm currently a member of the Law Society of Ontario's Advisory Council on Access to Innovation. There are 12 of us. And, the Law Society of Ontario is the body that regulates almost 60,000 lawyers. And every year, about 5,000 lawyers are added, and paralegals. And what we do is we assist in reviewing applications from technological software that folks develop to render legal services, and we give approval. So in service of the bar community, and of course, I do a lot of lectures, as you said, also.
Yes.
Trying to educate
Yes.
people. I train a lot of lawyers. I've trained more than 40 lawyers so far. Here, part of the challenges, people who are racialized, and by that I mean people of minority, race, people, blacks, for example, and folks who are not part of the mainstream, they have challenges getting into the profession. So I've flung open my doors from day one. So people apply,
Thank you,
of
sir.
course, they are limited in terms of the space, those that we can accommodate. And now, bottom line, I try to advocate. I may not be out there as much as I would love, but with
Okay.
time, I think that's going to happen, because we have to be speaking up. Those of us who are having the advantage of being able to express ourselves, must speak up. If we want our society, to progress, we must speak up. I just don't believe that reason has a season. It is all season. So when people, and the only way, you can allow reason to prevail is for people to speak up. So you are going to definitely have folks who are beneficiaries of status quo, and
Yeah.
who have, their agenda, personal agenda that they will always push. But when people interact and interface, at the end of the day, the better reason will prevail, because every human being out there is capable of reasoning. But it's just that a lot of untruths, a lot of falsehoods, are forced down the throat of people, because those who know, for
They
fear,
don't speak up.
one reason or the other, complacency,
Mm.
will not speak. So I do a lot of speaking out. Many may not see that as something that is worth doing, but I take it very, very seriously. In any gathering, in any setting, if I notice that someone has said something and I don't agree with it, even in court, where, of course, I prefer to be defending the little guy as opposed to being a judge. A lot of people have asked me, why are you not a judge? Why have you not applied? I said, I don't want to be, I will never apply to be a judge. Rather, I will be the one who is defending. The higher, my profile, the more I'm able to speak. And the more they are going to be listening to me.
Yes.
And there are just too many people who need representation, who need, to be defended. So we all should be using, whatever platforms we have, to defend others. So that is one of the areas that I'm extremely, involved with. Then, of course, I love entertainment. So I promote entertainment, I promote entertainers, I do as much as I can because I'm a lover of art, as you know. I'm a poet, and every time I put, my pen to work, and I hope before we go, I'll give you one line or two, that is an area that I'm very, very passionate about because it's also an avenue to educate, to impact the society. That expressiveness, have to find vent. And what better way than to present it colorfully? And that's what poetry represents for me. It is the art and craft of twisting and turning thoughts and weaving and waxing words until you wind up with wisdom. So I'm a merchant of wisdom. I like to challenge people, to logical combats. That is one thing that I treasure. So, and they have these attributes that I'm mentioning, they've helped me a lot, even in my primary, area.
Thank you very much. Before we go, sir, it seems that when I mentioned the area of philanthropic gestures that you do, you wanted to react. I don't know if you have anything to say, but
and this is one of the reasons, I cherish what you are doing, picking, from amongst thousands who have benefited, from the grace of the institution. How do I say this? Philanthropy ought to be, something that is part of every human being. Every human, once you are lucky, once you have that, blessing, of being in a position of higher attainment, of being a possessor of more resources, it should naturally flow, from your end. Philanthropy should naturally flow from your end. So it's something I cherish. My heart is always, in that direction. I try as much as I can to be there for as many as possible. Unfortunately, of course, resources are finite. Yes, you cannot. Even the government is unable to do so.
Yes.
So we try, and I get approached a lot. Yes. Every time. Even last weekend, I was somewhere. Some guy was launching his jazz album. He made me chief launcher. Things like that. Everyone needs assistance. At some point, we will also do more for our great institution, because we cannot be yelling great Uniben without, touching, the institution. But I would also say that I've had instances where I've sponsored some students in the course of the past few years.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had that responsibility discharged, but there's more, to be frank, that one can do. And I know that the Faculty of Law
Yeah.
will be top of my agenda. Because
Definitely. That bias is welcome.
of course. The Faculty of Law is we didn't have the privilege, by the way. Those many of my colleagues, when they watch this, they would recall with I don't know whether pain or whatever it was. We used to be driven out of some halls.
Yeah.
We were doing some courses in, I think it was EcoStart room at that time, because
Okay.
the Faculty
It
of Law.
seems there was no Faculty of Law as
No,
at
we
then.
didn't have a building.
Yeah, a
We didn't have
building.
a
Yeah.
building. The building
Yeah.
was being set up as we were living.
Oh,
So we didn't
you
have the
didn't
whole.
enter the promised land.
No, exactly. We have the privilege of snapping photos with the edifice that is there now. So,
Yeah.
but I look forward to going there and
Okay.
taking some photographs in front of the
Mm.
building and posting it and say this is where it all began.
That would be great.
Yes. Thank you for
The
what you
dean
do,
there.
Kevin.
Thank you
For
very
what you
much, sir.
do, because I think I've watched some of the episodes, not all of them, but I could see how you are doing something that is really commendable, is laudable, and if you don't tell your story, nobody else will. So you are doing a phenomenal job, and I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, sir.
Before, if you are going to end, there is what I want to say.
Okay, sir.
Poem,
go ahead.
It is titled Fear. For anyone out there, fear is the first thing that one has to conquer if you want to excel wherever you are, however you play, whether at the big league, local league, middle league, whatever it is. Anything that disrupts your desire to succeed, try and combat it. And fear is the foremost in terms of factors that truncate people's dreams. So here is a poem titled Fear that I have crafted. Oh, fear, a coat of many colors you wear. You always lock in the rear. In front are the barren children you bear. You block the road to success like a dike. Mongers hype your profile to make it spike. Terrains shake when you strike, as if you are thunder and the like. You always manage to find a way, though the brave chases you away. The coward lets you hold sway. The pretender buys you on lay away. Thunder, dogs, waves, rave, but their screams can't nip the trip of the brave. We all ply paths only the brave could pave. Hail to whoever succumbs to fear only in the grave. Thank you.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I think we can anchor here. Fear, the brave chases you away. So we all should be brave. We should face our fears, and we'll be successful, and our dreams will come true. Thank you very much, sir, for the last less about our together. It has been you've told us a lot of things, your time in Uniben, and what you're currently doing for humanity. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks again for having me, Kevin, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, sir. That's the end of this episode. We have been speaking with the founder and principal partner of Kingsley Jesuorobo and Associates, a law firm based in Canada. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.